Silence or stand. All persons having any business before this honourable court now draw nigh. Give your attendance and he shall be heard. God save the Queen.
Admission of lawyers. Tareen Amin.
May it please the court, I move that my wife, Tareen Amin, be admitted as a lawyer in this honourable court.
Did Tareen Amin be admitted as a lawyer of this court?
Jeremy Dillon Bowden.
May it please the court, I move that Jeremy Dillon Bowden be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jeremy Dillon Bowden be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Chantel Emily Drake.
May it please the court, I move that Chantel Emily Drake be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Chantel Emily Drake be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Zainab Tasnim Gul.
May it please the court, I move that Zainab Tasneem Gul be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Zainab Tasman Gul be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Nicola Charlotte Irwin Fawkes.
May it please the court, I move that Nicola Charlotte Irwin Fawkes be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Nicola Charlotte Irwin Fawkes be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sankalp Labru.
May it please the court, I move that Sankalp Labru be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sankalp Labru be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Diana Lamb.
May it please the court, I move that Diana Lamb be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Diana Lamb be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sally Vanessa Ann McGee.
May it please the court, I move that Sally Vanessa Ann McGee be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sally Vanessa Ann McGee be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Caitlin Elizabeth Poole.
May it please the court, I move that Caitlin Elizabeth Poole be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Caitlin Elizabeth Poole be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Andrea Nicolasa Karandang Soriano.
May it please the court, I move that Andrea Nicolasa Karandang Soriano be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Andrea Nicolasa Karadang Suriano be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Ellie Sumner.
May it please the court, I move that Ellie Sumner be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Ellie Sumner be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Dong Mei Sun.
May it please the court, I move that Don May Sun be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Dong Mei Sun be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Sheldon Dane Alyssa Tamas.
May it please the court, I move that my wife, Sheldon Dane Elisa Thomas, be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Sheldon Dane Alyssa Tamas be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Oscar Edwin Teeley.
May it please the court, I move that Oscar Edwin Teeley be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Oscar Edwin Teeley be admitted as a lawyer of this court.
Jasmine Elizabeth Yokana.
May it please the court, I move that Jasmine Elizabeth Yukana be admitted as a lawyer of this honourable court.
Let Jasmine Elizabeth Yukana be admitted as a lawyer of this court. It will be necessary for the purpose of an oath or affirmation that all those admitted today please stand up but remain in their current places. Could all admittees please stand?
Tareem Amin. Jeremy Dillon Bowden. Chantel Emily Drake. Zainab Tasneem Gul. Nicola Charlotte Irwin Fawkes. Sankalp Labru. Diana Lamb. Sally Vanessa Ann McGee. Caitlin Elizabeth Poole. Andrea Nicolasa Karandang Soriano. Ellie Sumner. Dong Mei Sun. Sheldon Danae Alyssa Tamas. Oscar Edwin Teeley. Jasmine Elizabeth Yokana. Do you severally swear or declare and affirm that you will truly and honestly conduct yourselves in the practice of a lawyer of the Supreme Court of New South Wales, and that you will faithfully serve as such in the administration of the laws and usages of this state according to the best of your knowledge, skill and ability. Would you please say, "So help me God," or I do? Please be seated.
Now that the formal part of the proceedings has ended, and with that slight hiccup, I'd like to warmly welcome you to the Supreme Court of New South Wales. Present with me on the bench today, to my right, is Justice Stevenson, and to my left, Justice Williams. They are both members of the Equity Division of the Court. Together, we constitute the Court that has, in exercise of its jurisdiction, admitted you to practice. As we gather here today, I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. We recognise the long-standing and enduring customs and traditions of Australia's First Nations, and acknowledge with deep regret the role our legal system has had in perpetrating many injustices against Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. To all the new lawyers here today, welcome to the legal profession. Today is a day for celebration. You have all worked extremely hard to get here through caffeine-fuelled nights and obscure problem questions, reading countless wafer-thin pages of textbooks and more cases than you can ever hope to remember. Rest assured, for those with bibliophobia, that is a fear of running out of reading material, that as lawyers, that fear will never materialise. You have entered the world of eggshell skulls, encountered a mysterious reasonable person, and have understood the Constitution consists of so much more than the vibe of the thing. In becoming a lawyer, you have today joined a centuries-old profession with ancient origins. The custom of advocates swearing an admission oath dates back to the 12th century. This court first admitted lawyers to practice in 1824, and by 1830 the names of lawyers were entered onto rolls in this state. You have now become part of this tradition some 200 years later. Perhaps for some of you, or more likely for your family and friends, that's how long it feels like you've been studying. On that note, I'm also pleased to welcome those here with you today or watching on the live stream. For many of you, the support of your family and friends has been invaluable. No doubt they have also often been on the receiving end of your finely polished skills of argument and persuasion. I do hope you take the time to thank them today. The oath or affirmation you have made today is a serious one and deserves solemn regard. Whether you work in private practice, at the bar, in a community legal centre, or an entirely different field, you should be known for your honesty, your integrity, and your commitment to justice. It is in acknowledgement of this weighty responsibility that we observe today's unique formalities, including the moving of lawyers, swearing of oaths, and even our somewhat unusual choice of fashion. I recall on one occasion some years ago, a young member of the audience asked if we were doing Santa photos after the ceremony. I was very sorry to disappoint her. However, although we mark this occasion with formality and tradition, not everything in the legal profession remains unchanging. You'll be unsurprised to hear that last year we had to adapt quite a bit. COVID-19 meant a rapid shift to increased use of virtual courtroom setups and technology to ensure access to justice continues in the midst of a pandemic. Things didn't always go smoothly, as those with me on the bench can certainly attest to. There have been real difficulties to grapple with in terms of open justice, effective communication and fairness to participants. And occasionally a lawyer might even get stuck behind a Zoom kitten filter. But for all the challenges we faced, the impetus is greater than ever before for us to prioritise flexibility and accessibility. Better use of technology and increased working from home arrangements have profound implications for how our legal system can interact with many people, including those in rural or remote areas, those with a disability, medical conditions or carers' responsibilities. As the newest members of the profession, you are at the forefront of innovation in the law and have a unique opportunity to see through changes so that justice is done openly and equitably. There are, of course, other changes which deserve attention. When we think of the diversity of the legal profession, we encounter the duality that we've come very far and that much still needs to be done. Though women were originally not permitted to practice, since 2018, women have made up more than half of all the solicitors in New South Wales and currently make up 63% of solicitors under the age of 30. Women occupy many of the most senior positions in the law, including, of course, the Chief Justice of Australia. However, women continue to face challenges of representation, including amongst judges of this court and, for example, amongst barristers in speaking roles before the High Court. It is, on the other hand, heartening to see that the local court of New South Wales has almost achieved gender parity amongst magistrates, but we must not be complacent about these issues. There are other noticeable diversity concerns that we must face head-on. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and people from diverse cultural backgrounds continue to be alarmingly underrepresented in the legal profession, and particularly within the judiciary and the ranks of senior counsel. We must also be alert to barriers to the profession from people from less privileged backgrounds. Law should not be a profession for the wealthy, and the idea that students may be dissuaded from studying law by the cost of a law degree, which this year has again increased, or because of other systemic issues, is troubling. Not only this, but we will only achieve a truly diverse profession when barriers to advancement are broken down and people from different backgrounds are properly supported in a collegiate and inclusive environment free from harassment and discrimination. These issues are fundamental to a just and transparent legal system and thus to the legitimacy of the rule of law. We need diverse representation among advocates and judges so that all people who become involved in our justice system can be properly heard and fairly engaged with by a system reflective of our broader community. Despite these challenges, there is real scope for change. There is far greater diversity of background amongst junior lawyers than those who have been around for as long as me. You've only got to look at your fellow admittees and then at the pictures of on the wall to see that this is so. You are in a unique position as new lawyers who are entering the profession at a time when more than ever your words and actions are having an impact for good. You are being heard and taken seriously when you agitate to correct injustices, whether it be speaking out against unsustainable working cultures, sexual harassment or bullying within the profession, unfair laws, or systemic failings affecting our society's most vulnerable. I urge you to continue to speak up for these things. They do matter. You are the future of the profession and will steer the direction that it will take. As a lawyer, you will also need to make difficult ethical decisions at times. With regards to our personal characteristics, lawyers have been the butt of jokes for centuries. Some would say there are, of course, only a few lawyer jokes. The rest are true stories. But jokes aside, you must use the tools you have developed to think critically and not compromise on your fundamental duties to the court and the administration of justice and the other ethical duties you have pledged to uphold. Now that you're lawyers, you can get paid to argue instead of arguing for free. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that. You're an advisor, a problem solver, a mediator, and an advocate for the marginalised. As you go about your day-to-day work, remember that you're not merely dealing with the law in a vacuum as a series of abstract concepts, but law as it applies to people's lives. For this reason, you must strive to deliver legal services competently and fearlessly, with courtesy and integrity. Justice Gageler, before he was a High Court judge, once said, "You must be prepared to give the same answer to the same questions for the same reason, no matter who asked the question, or for what purpose, or in what context the asking may occur." This is foundational to upholding the rule of law. For those of you who will practice law, the way you communicate information to others will have profound consequences for access to justice. For a non-lawyer, law is often incomprehensible. One of your roles as a lawyer will be to make law accessible to others, sometimes by deciphering legal complexities, other times by deciphering poor legal drafting, and sometimes both. One thing you will regrettably strike throughout your career is legislation which seems carefully crafted with the object of ensuring that no one can understand it. I doubt if even the drafter can. Your task is not just to understand it, but to explain it clearly to those whose rights and interests are affected by it. As lawyers, we must not keep the law locked up as something knowable only to us. A client reading your advice should be empowered to understand your meaning, not mystified and confused. So be clear and concise in your writing and your speaking. Plain English is powerful. Consider, do I really need to say aforementioned or herewith? Must I sprinkle in that Latin phrase? Should I really use double negatives, tautologies and wordy clauses that take up a whole page? I would suggest the answer to these questions is obviously no. The best advocates can make their point simply and succinctly. Some of the most experienced lawyers and judges could also use that reminder from time to time. Don't pick up their bad habits. I also want to speak about failure. I'd not be surprised if there are quite a few overachievers and perfectionists in the room today. Even so, at various points of your career, you will make mistakes, some minor and some more serious. When you do make mistakes, your commitment to honesty, integrity and the administration of justice means that you must take responsibility, correct what you can and learn from these errors. You must fail at times in order to grow. I myself have made many mistakes over the years, far too many to remember. But what is important is that you try not to make the same mistake twice. Even as Chief Justice, my decisions have on occasions been successfully appealed to the High Court. At those times, I'm obliged to grit my teeth and tell myself that it's not a fiction that the High Court is never wrong. But in fact, at times, even dissenting High Court judgments become the law. Finally, I want to emphasise to you that your mental health is extremely important. This may sound unexpected at this type of ceremony, but the law is not everything. There may be times when you feel overwhelmed, burnt out or distressed. If you do, you should not be afraid to seek professional help or take a step back when you need to. Also remember that the law is a collegiate profession and in times of difficulty, the support of your peers will prove invaluable. I found that out throughout my career. Although you might find it hard to believe, I was admitted quite a long time ago. I lost my first case and I lost many more after that, probably if the truth be told more than I won. But throughout my 35 years in practice, I could always count on the other barristers in my chambers to share my disappointment, the unfairness of the verdict, the slight tactics of opposing counsel, and most often, I regret to say, the obtuseness of the judge or judges before whom I was appearing. And I hasten to add that I don't include either of my fellow judges on the bench in that comment. Finally, on behalf of all the judges of the Supreme Court, and particularly those sitting with me today, I once again congratulate you on your admission and welcome you to the legal profession. The Court will now adjourn.
All stand.